Back in 2001 when Halo Combat Evolved came out, it was a truly revolutionary game. It honestly pushed the FPS genre into a new direction, and that was all done through a few key features such as a brand new combat system which features extremely intelligent AI who had unique movements and a clear hierarchy system, a rich and engaging storyline which later went on to become one of the most iconic stories in gaming history, and some truly memorable characters, and a soundtrack that really stood out as being some of the best sound design in all of gaming. But there was one thing that always stood out for me with Halo and Halo Combat Evolved in particular, and that was its unique and refreshing level design. To this day, I still have a lot of fond memories of the Combat Evolved levels, simply because they were fun to play, they had memorable locations, and their all-round design was just something I had never seen before. So in this video, I thought it would be interesting to go over all the reasons why I truly believe Combat Evolved had some incredible level designs. So welcome to WiseFish, and today we will be looking at the level designs of Halo Combat Evolved. If we have a look back at PC games around the late 1990s and at the start of the 2000s, there was always a design mentality that was to create linear corridor shooters. Doom, Quake, GoldenEye, and even Half-Life all fit under these level design choices. These certainly weren't badly designed levels, there were lots to see and do within them, especially in Doom and Quake where you could find collectibles along the way. But they all had the same mentality behind them and loved focusing on tight, close quarter levels. Going into Halo Combat Evolved, you would have thought that within their first mission, Pillar of Autumn, Combat Evolved was going to take that same design choice. Its opening mission has you venturing through small corridors, battling against the enemies as the whole world around you blows up. It's almost identical in some respects to Half-Life 1's beginning, where the whole lab blows up and you have to escape. What's great about this design choice is it allows PC FPS gamers who had been playing the classic shooters to feel like this game followed that same suit. It looked and felt like those types of games, and subconsciously it helped them to work out how the game worked and its design choices. Match that with the fact that having these levels being really tight and linear, it really helps the player focus more on how the combat actually works within the game. Getting that pistol from Keys at the beginning and give the player 3 grunts directly in front of them almost instantly after you pick up the gun helps them to learn how the mechanics work and get accustomed to that new controller. If this beginning level was set in a huge open area with lots to see and lots to do, with a big focus on exploration and graphics, then the mechanics of the combat system and the AI would be lost on the player. Making it extremely linear and close quarters not only makes sense considering they are on a spaceship after all, but it also helps teach the player what to do and how combat works, especially those who are used to using a mouse and keyboard all their gaming lives. But going forward and reaching the second level, Halo, the whole game takes a brand new direction and opens up completely. When Chief first steps outside that drop pod, Halo just opens up. Its vast landscapes capture the player for those first few seconds. It almost lets you take in everything around you. The huge ring filling the vistas, the blue plasma hitting the skies as it is fired into the air, and the nature that fills the area is just so vibrant and just brings the player into this whole new environment. I will make a note that I am playing on Anniversary, but the same applies for the classic graphics as well. To me, it was almost as if landing on a Halo ring was showing the gamers that this is a whole new world of game design, and it really worked. Going forward, every level at the beginning really stands out as beautiful and so different from the last. It not only captures how magnificent these Halo rings are, which helps push the narrative of what are these mysterious rings and who made them, it also captures the player and brings them in, making them think, this is unlike anything I've ever seen in gaming before. You kind of match the way that Master Chief and Cortana are feeling as you venture through these levels. Every level at the beginning of Halo really gives off its own identity, but despite that, all of them are so recognizable with Halo now. Truth and Reconciliation really stood out because it was the first nighttime mission as you had to venture through this valley and go into a huge alien spaceship in the sky. The level is fantastic because not only does it show you that you can get around levels in a stealthy manner and take out enemies from a distance with your incredible sniper, it also completely changed gear halfway through, going from wide open areas where you can use your sniper to close quarter sections filled with enemies who were extremely deadly coming face to face. Following that up, you also had the Silent Cartographer, which is brilliantly introduced by this fantastic cutscene, showing off the brilliance of the graphics as well as the overall design. But landing on the level, you just feel like you are a badass and almost doing an invasion, like this is the Halo version of D-Day. Sure, there's not as many soldiers, but the feeling of charging into battle battle from a dropship never gets old. Then there's Attack on the Control Room, which is once again completely different with a brand new weather system. It's unlike any of the other beginning levels, and it just gives off this whole different vibe compared to the other levels. It also really highlights how terrifying the Forerunner areas actually are. I think what I'm trying to say by this point is these levels all give you a different feeling as you step foot on them. The first makes it feel like you have done all this before because of its corridor shooter vibes, but then Halo makes you feel a sense of wonder and discovery. Truth and Reconciliation makes you feel an unsettling feeling as you venture through the dark and into unfamiliar territory to save your captain. Silent Cartographer makes you feel like you're on this incredibly important military mission to seek the truth of the Halo rings and the Covenant army's involvement. And Attack on the Control Room makes you feel like there is a darker side to the Halo ring. It is in fact a cold and hostile environment that has a darker side to it away from the bright and colourful landscapes we had previously seen. Each level really told its own story, but not only that, the way each level was designed, it encouraged the way the player ventured around the map. They were all grand in scale to some extent. On Halo, for example, there was no specific path to take when you first go. You can save the Marines in any order you want. Granted, there's no real difference in whatever way you want to do it, but it was still nice to just go wherever you want and do things. Combat Evolved for me changed the way FPS shooters were designed as they let the player explore these huge maps with extremely beautiful looking landscapes. It really pushed forward these open wide first person shooters. When Combat Evolved went into the mid part of the game, everything changed dramatically and suddenly, especially when we get to 343 Guilty Spark. In my honest opinion, 343 Guilty Spark is one of the best levels within Halo. Not because it had the most enjoyable level design, but because of the atmosphere it created when you venture through it. From the start of the level, we are brought into this dark and quite ominous level with an incredibly spooky soundtrack and trees that are odd in their shape and are luminous green, creating an unnatural, eerie look to them. We also see grunts and jackals running through the level, but they're not running away from you, so what are they actually running from? There is something weird about entering this level. When venturing through, there is also that distance from everything. Friendly markers appear on the sensor, but you can never see the Marines. Human weapons get fired in the distance, but when you try to catch up to them, you can never see them. And there is just a distant lack of anything as you venture through the Forerunner structure. The design of the level also features no higher ranking soldiers at all. The highest ranking thing is a jackal, which is extremely odd as from the first level you have always been up against elites. Blood trails in the rooms are also very isolated. This room here, for example, has one blood splatter in the middle of the room and a ton of ammo just lying there, which is extremely odd, especially as it's needler ammo. Then when you finally see dripping goo falling from the ceiling, you start questioning what the hell is actually going on within this building. The subtlety to the flood clues is just incredible, especially the green light which is directly in the middle of the room. The real beauty of this level though is there is no music whatsoever when you venture towards the mission location, only the eerie sound effects of the Forerunner structure and the creepy birds within the swamp. 343 Guilty Spark perfectly set up one of the most shocking plot twists I've ever played within a video game, and honestly because of the subtlety of this level it made that reveal all that more shocking, especially when the cutscene ends and you are suddenly facing up against the terrifying flood with that terrifying music. For me it is one of the most memorable levels I have ever played. When you finally see the Marines when you get out, it is a sigh of relief and you really feel like this is the one time where Master Chief is terrified, and we know that from the book regarding this, that this was the one and only time that he was actually scared when on a mission. It's not the best level in terms of gameplay, but in terms of overall design it needs every bit of praise possible. But going forward, levels just continue to stand out and also tell their own story through the use of the flood. Going into the flood levels in the second half of the Combat Evolved, the whole look and feel of the game completely changed. Granted, they are just the same levels as before, but the whole mood changes with the devastation of the flood's involvement. The levels get darker, maybe it's the green goo, but something about the level just seems so much more different than before. But with every level, destruction is everywhere, battles between all the factions surround the areas, and there is just a whole new look to them. They all tell a completely different story from their earlier designs and create more of a panic as you go to save humanity and destroy the ring. But there is one level which is probably the most controversial level in the whole of Halo, but for me tells its own unique story and explores more about the new flood which we just encountered. That level was the library, which will be nicely explained to you through my good friend Andrew from Team Respawn. Take it away, Andrew.
The library gets a lot of slack for being poorly designed and being way too long, but saying that, its design really tells a story to the player and helps explore the world. It shows how relentless the Flood really are. There's nothing that will stop them from destroying anything in their path, and the library is visual proof of that and helps characterize them as a force. Getting stuck at each door, waiting for 343 Guilty Spark to unlock it, you get that anxious feeling as you desperately try to speed the process up. With Flood charging at you from all angles, it makes you forget what it was like to fight the Covenant and really puts you in the shoes of Master Chief. It's the perfect level to display the characteristics of the Flood and their real threat. It also makes you appreciate the Sentinels when they do finally get involved, especially considering this whole level you are completely on your own with Cortana back in the control room. You finally feel like these are your allies for the latter half of the campaign, and when they do show up during this mission, you feel like you have a moment to relax a little as they take on the Flood for you. If this level was not full on, then I personally don't think it would have had the same narrative impact, and you really wouldn't be able to be shown the full effect of the Flood and see how much of a threat they really are. It's still far too long though, sadly. That does it for me. Back to you, Matt.
Thanks for that, Andrew, and if you want to check out his video on the characters of Halo Combat Evolved, go and check out his channel and make sure you hit that subscribe button for him. He's a great guy, makes some great videos, and they'll really make you laugh, some of them as well. So make sure you check him out. But again, Andrew, thank you very much for joining us on this one. When Combat Evolved finished on the Maw, for me it's probably the most poetic way to end the game and the first part of the Halo story. It finishes where it started, and it's actually quite moving to see the level that you started this journey on destroyed and devastated by the Flood, Covenant and the Sentinels. Once again, although it's the same level as Pillar of Autumn, the way it's designed with the fire pouring out the walls, destruction in every room, makes it feel like a whole new experience that tells a whole new story.
I leave home for a few days and look what happens.
But yeah, Combat Evolved, thanks to its credible level designs, had a clear story arc. It had a clear beginning, middle and end, which featured one of the best plot twists I've ever experienced. If Halo didn't have these incredibly designed levels, I think this story wouldn't have that much of an impact. They also showed off the new graphical technology and inspired many other studios going forward to experiment in larger levels with lots to see and do. Combat Evolved changed the FPS genre, and for me the level design played one of the biggest parts in answering why the game was so incredible and revolutionary. But let me know what you guys think though. What was your favourite level within Combat Evolved, and did you appreciate the level design within this game? Big shout out to Andrew from Team Respawn for collaborating with me on this video. He also has a video on their channel regarding the iconic characters of Combat Evolved, so make sure you check that out and subscribe to them if you haven't already. But thanks for checking this video out. Make sure you like it and sub if you haven't already. But that's all for now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.